She made one phone call. It lasted less than 2 minutes. The person on the other end heard her voice. And then silence. No screams. No struggle. No goodbye. By the time police arrived, she was already gone. Her car was still warm. Her belongings were untouched. And there were no footprints leading away. Tonight, you're about to hear a true American case that investigators still cannot explain. This is the Unsolved Archive. A disappearance that began with a single phone call and ended with nothing but questions. She made one phone call. It was brief, calm, almost ordinary. Nothing in her voice suggested fear. Nothing suggested urgency. Nothing suggested that it would be the last time anyone ever heard from her. And yet, when the call ended, she vanished. No goodbye. No final message. No explanation. This is not a legend. This is not speculation. This is a real unsolved disappearance from the United States. A case that remains open. A case that still raises more questions than answers. This is the story of Maura Murray. Maura Murray was 21 years old in early 2004. She was a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She was also a competitive runner, disciplined, focused, and physically strong. To friends and family, Maura appeared driven. She held herself to high standards. She rarely asked for help. Growing up, sports had shaped much of her identity. Running taught her endurance, control, silence. But beneath that control, pressure was building. College was demanding. Nursing school was intense. And in the months leading up to her disappearance, small cracks began to appear. There were financial problems. Minor, but stressful. There were emotional pressures. Academic expectations. Personal relationships. None of these things were extreme on their own. But together, they painted a picture of someone overwhelmed. Someone trying to hold everything together quietly. Just days before Maura vanished, she was involved in a car accident. She had borrowed her father's car. After attending a party, she crashed it into a guardrail. No one was seriously injured. Police were not immediately involved. But the incident shook her. It added stress. It added guilt. And it added questions. In the days that followed, Maura began to make quiet preparations. She searched for directions. She packed personal belongings. Not everything. Just enough for a short trip. She withdrew money. She sent emails to her professor saying she needed time away due to a family emergency. There was no confirmed emergency, but no one questioned it at the time. On February 9, 2004, Maura got into her car and drove north. She did not tell anyone where she was going. There was no note, no voicemail, no message saying goodbye. At some point that afternoon, she made a phone call. The call was brief. Her voice was calm. Nothing sounded wrong. It would become the final confirmed contact she ever made. As evening approached, Maura's car was seen traveling along Route 112 in rural New Hampshire. The area was dark. Snow covered the ground. The road was narrow and winding. Then, just after 7 p.m., her car slid off the road and struck a snowbank. The damage was not severe, but the car was disabled. A local school bus driver stopped to check on her. He later reported that Maura appeared shaken, but not injured. She declined help. She told him she had already called roadside assistance. The bus driver offered to call police. Again, she refused. Concerned, The bus driver left the scene and contacted authorities anyway. When police arrived just minutes later, they found the car. The airbags had deployed. The engine was off. Personal items were still inside. Maura was gone. There were no footprints leading into the woods. No signs of a struggle. No blood. No broken belongings. It was as if she had vanished between moments. Search teams were called and almost immediately, dogs were brought to track her scent. The dogs followed it down the road, then stopped, as if she had entered another vehicle, or disappeared entirely. The search intensified. Officers combed the surrounding woods. Volunteers joined in. Helicopters scanned the area. Nothing. Days passed. Then weeks. Still nothing. Investigators were left with a narrow window of time. Just minutes. Between the bus driver leaving and police arriving. What happened during that window has never been explained. Questions began to surface. Why did Maura refuse help? Why did she claim she had called for assistance when there was no record of such a call? Why did her scent stop in the road? And most importantly, why was there no trace of her at all? Over the years, theories multiplied. Some believed Maura planned to disappear, that she needed a break, a reset, a new start. Others believed she accepted help from the wrong person. An opportunistic encounter. A moment of vulnerability. There are theories suggesting she wandered into the wilderness and succumbed to the elements. But extensive searches have never found evidence to support that. Each explanation answers one question and creates several more. Her family refused to let the case fade. They organized searches. They spoke to the media. They kept her name alive. Billboards were erected. Websites created. Tips followed. Years passed. Then decades. Still nothing. Cold cases often fade because evidence degrades. Witnesses forget. Memories blur. But this case remains sharp. Because the timeline is tight. Because the disappearance occurred in public. Because police arrived quickly. And yet, there is nothing. Maura Murray would be in her 40s today. No one knows where she is, or what truly happened that night. Investigators say the case remains open. But every year, the trail grows colder. Somewhere, the truth still exists. In a forgotten memory. In an unanswered question. Or in the one detail that was never taken seriously. All that remains is a damaged car, a quiet road, and one phone call. A call that sounded normal. A call that raised no alarms. A call that marked the moment everything changed. Until answers come, the truth still exists, and this case remains open. And Maura Murray remains one of America's most haunting unsolved disappearances.